welcome. So we've renamed this program the Sila Celebration Program. Welcome, Amy coming on, Alex in the room, anyone on YouTube. So it's just, were you here when we renamed it that, Alex? No, okay, Amy was. So we renamed this the Sila Celebration Program. And that feels very good. When I get to the Dhamma sharing part, Passaddhi Vihara and I said, well, we don't have to talk about Sila every week in the Dhamma sharing part. However, I must say that it's such a great topic. I'm going to be continuing with the Sila theme to somewhat again this week. And regardless of what the Dhamma theme is, we'll always have the precepts, which is why there's this celebration. And it's wonderful to have Alex here in the room to be able to have a voice that picks up on the one microphone without the time lag that we get over Zoom, and doesn't work at all over YouTube. So we will jump to Sila. And the format is that if you're whether you're taking the 5 or the 8 precepts, or you can just listen in, there'll be a request for the precepts and for the refuges. And then we can all do Namo Tassa 3 times, and then everyone can repeat together. If you're on Zoom or YouTube, though, it's with your mic off. The veneration to the Buddha, or gratitude to the Buddha. And then again, line by line, I will say the refuges and repeat line by line. And that can be done whether you're taking the 5 or the 8, we can do that all together. And then we'll do the 5 precepts for those who are taking the 5 precepts. You can chant along with that one. And then we'll immediately go into the 8 precepts, which of course repeats some of the 5, but then modifies the 3rd from not sexual misconduct to abstention, and adds on some of the renunciation additional precepts. And then at the end, we can rejoice together in this commitment to Sila. It's a training. It's not a recited and done. Head shaving is coming up in 2 days here, and it's not like I cut the hair off and all of my unwholesome behavior, habits of the years is cut off and never to return. It's a practice. Each time something comes up, whether it's just a cringe in the heart or an actual misdeed, it's a training to be observed, and you'll hear that repeated throughout the precepts. So please.
Ayam Ayya Tisaramina Saham Silanina Cham Nitiyampi Mayam Ayya Tisaramina Saham Silanina Cham Ratiyampi Mayam Ayya Tisaramina Saham Silanina Cham. We, Venerable, request the 3 refuges and the precepts. For the 2nd time, Venerable, we request the 3 refuges and the precepts. For the 3rd time, Venerable, we request the 3 refuges and the precepts.
So I'll chant 3 times and then repeat after me 3 times. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
So this was homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. And we'll do the 3 refuges now. Repeat line by line. Bhutang saranang gacchami.
Buddham saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammam saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sangham saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddham saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammam saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sangham saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddham saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammam saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sangham saranang gacchami.
Ti saranagaminang nititang. This completes the 3 refuges. So we'll do the 5 precepts. I'll do the Pali, and then you can do the Pali and then read the English. Panatipata veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Panatipata veramani sikapadam samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living being.
Adinadana veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Adinadana veramani sikapadam samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
Kame sumichachara veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Kame sumichakara veramani sikapadam samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from sexual misconduct.
Musawata veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Musawata veramani sikapadam samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying.
Sura meraya majapamardatana veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Sura meraya majapamardatana veramani sikapadam samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drinks and drugs which lead to carelessness.
Oh, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu for those taking the 5. And now we'll continue for those who wish to take the 8 precepts. And we'll go right into the precepts in the same format. Panatipato veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Panatipata veramani sikapadam samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
Adinadana veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Adila dana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
Apramacharya veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Brahmacharya veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from all intentional sexual activity.
Musawata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musawata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying.
Sura merya majapamadratana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Sura meraya maja pamadatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from intoxicating drinks and drugs which lead to carelessness.
Vikalabhojana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Vikalabhojana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from eating at the inappropriate time.
Nacha gita wadita visukkatasana mala gandha vilepana dharana mandana vibhusanatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Nachagita vadita visukadasana malaganda vilepana dharana mandana vibhusanatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from entertainment, beautification, and adornment.
Uchasayana mahasayana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Uchasayana mahasayana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying on a high or luxurious sleeping place.
Imani sikkhapadani silena sugatim yanti silena bhoga sampada silena nibutim yanti tasma silang visodaye. These are the precepts for training. Virtue is the source of happiness. Virtue is the source of true wealth. Virtue is the source of peacefulness. Therefore, let virtue be purified. Sadhu, 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 celebration. Oh, it's so wonderful. And what is this? Zoom is saying, it sounds like you're playing music. It wants to do some audio setting or something. So even Zoom realizes that this is a melodious, harmonious thing to be doing for our hearts. So thank you for coming to celebrate together, and those who are going to be watching, either who are watching now on YouTube or might watch it at a later time. We see that there are numbers of people who can't meet this particular time, but still want to have some precepts and Sila and Dhamma celebration in their life. So it's wonderful that we do have some technology that allows this to stretch to Canada and to, I know there are people from Europe and around the world that makes this possible. And it's also wonderful to have Alex here in the room, having moved here. You can't see Amy on the screen going, yay. So yes, as I said, I was thinking like what Dhamma theme to bring up today, and I realized that just the celebration of Sila is still very strong for me, and that sense of what Sila brings to us. So I also thought maybe we could pull out a little bit of what gets in the way of Sila. And so I'll open it up right away to, what do you see out in the world? What do you see in yourself? You don't need to overly share personal stuff. We're talking about like general themes here. What do you see out in the world or in your family dynamic or in, history, going back when you read history or you look at the way things are in the world? What is it that trips us up? And I concede the idea if nobody has a pop at the top of their head of what that might be. Amy.
The social values of the surrounding society that value comfort, indulgence. I was thinking comfort. Well, convenience is a big one in this society.
Ooh, convenience is huge. I'll say comfort first. Of course, we know as practitioners that the deeper comfort can really happen when our Sila is, our ethical conduct is pure and refined and beautiful and easeful. And our meditation gives a comfort that is so much deeper. But in the world, we look at short-term comfort, immediate, and you said convenience. Yeah, instant gratification at whatever cost. So yeah, that's a big one. Other themes?
The need to present oneself in a certain way to the world. So social pressure. Social
pressure. So yeah, how we present ourselves in order to whatever, in the office, in the at school, just as we move through the world, that the way to, and we do it for an underlying concept that it's safer, or it's going to be more profitable, we'll be more liked, more accepted. So again, we're getting back down to social pressures. What else? What do you, if you think back to, or you listen to the news about what goes on for that elementary school student or the middle school student or the high school student, what pressures are they facing? I think a big one is the fitting in. The peer pressure. I mean, we don't call it that as much. It sounds so much more refined when it's social norms. But I think they call it like it really is, bullying, peer pressure. So we're bullied into bad Sila sometimes. You just got to do this to join the club, to fit in. And that doesn't, the reason I pointed out is it's easier to see it and put those names on it when it's the child's environment and you're looking at it from the adult perspective and going, whoa, that's peer pressure. Do you want to jump off the cliff with your friends and all of this just because they're doing it? Or, the stories that parents try to tell their children. But we're still under the sway. We're still under the sway. It doesn't even go away when you put on robes. I mean, I'm not saying that I get a bunch of bad pressure from other monastics, but thankfully. But, the world view still, John and I were talking about, the times where somebody has come up and gotten in our face about, this not being okay. Most of the time I'm walking down the street and people are like, I love the color of your outfit. It's a big one. It's a big one. The other day, a group of teenagers or so walked by. That's a nice shade of orange. As I was on alms around. but there's something sweet and connecting about that. I feel like there is good Sila in that like friendly connection. But the same thing can happen of, I've had the go back to your country, because they assume this outfit is not something that's a North American country would have. I know other monastics that have had much stronger. The worst I've ever had was to be spit on. So these are social pressures. These are peer pressures, the people within our society. And so those are big ones. And they get bigger when you go to other parts of the world. It may be literally your life at stake. I'm not talking about robes now. I'm just talking about anyone, trying to hold to values of ethical conduct. And it may be out of alignment with that cultural structure. And so it can be very detrimental or costly. And the Buddha's words to his monastics when going out into that was metta. Is your metta strong enough that if this were to occur in your environment, in your situation, you were spit on, you were hit, you were verbally abused, what could you respond with metta? Could you still hold that spacious, open, warm heart? Or would you contract, or would you convert to unethical behaviors in body, speech, or mind? So this is the seriousness of it. Other things. What about our personal? What gets in the way? And I'm not saying that you have to say your own experience. It can be what you've heard in the Dhamma circles as well, of what gets in the way of me holding Sila, even if there's not pressure around me. Mara.
Or my own lack of impulse control.
Mara, lack of impulse control. I'm going to raise all 4 hands for that one as well. That there have been times in my life where it's been hard. There's been times where it's been easier, but that background flow of habit. Yep, I'm getting a yep, ding, ding, ding on Zoom that rings a bell of, our habit. We've been habituated by the ads, the billboards, the social norm of let's connect, let's eat, and drink, yep, eat, drink, be merry. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I think, all through the ages, they've had that kind of phrase. There's probably a new slang for it now. But there's this internal pressure. For me, it's habit. And it's also a turning away from the present moment because it's uncomfortable. And something that's, it's not going to be a major atrocious crime of killing or something. Although, there was a time in my life where swatting the mosquito just felt normal. That's what we did. It's annoying and now it's gone. And now it's like my heart would break if I did that and then went, the first response in me now is, oh, my dear, I'm so sorry. If that habit somehow popped up, it hasn't in quite some time. But if it did, I feel like I've been conditioning my heart towards, oh, my darling, as opposed to darn you. So the internal pressure to move away from this moment and all of the habits that we've cultivated to get out of the discomfort of this moment. So I think, Amy, when you brought the word comfort in right at the beginning, it's kind of crucial. So let's say we've decided we're going to step out of the social norms and the peer pressures, that we're in a relatively safe enough environment that we don't feel like we're going to be terribly bullied. And we're going to make some choices about how we approach moving in the world, interacting with other people, interacting with other beings. Why? Why would we take the painful path of changing habits? What is the value? Why Sila? I see a smile. Why Sila? We talked about, essentially we looked at the gratification of not having Sila was to fit in and to not feel, to turn away. What if we make that, if we're making the change, what is the, there's a discomfort we have to go through. There's a process of shifting where the accidental harm or the blurting of something, and then do you notice that as you are doing the reconditioning, there's a ouch that occurs. This ooh, that's not, I just took the precepts, and my preceptor tells this story, so I'm not talking out of school, of when her head was shaved back in Korea. She got the head shaved and got the white robes on, and or they might have been gray. I'm not sure what anagarkas wore in Korea at that time, but got the anagarka robes on, and felt like, okay, now I've arrived. Now I've arrived. I'm going to live a moral and pure life. And then within a couple of hours in the afternoon, got angry about something, just something that came up, and was in tears, and went to the preceptor and said, I can't do this. I've already, had my head shaved, but I've already broken everything. And, and the preceptor essentially laughed and said, yep, this is a training. This is a training. But we go through this time of discomfort, of changing habits is not easy. And when we see the beautiful, which we'll talk about, it's worth it to do the shift, but the process is painful. So why do it? What's on the other side that you know already from as far as you've come, or I know, or that you've read in the suttas or have seen in others? What's on the other side when your Sila is pure, unbroken, and beautiful and bright? How does it impact your meditation? It's great for meditation. I agree. How does it impact your relationships? It can cause some relationships to actually fizzle, but what are your relationships like once you're moving through into a steady state of good Sila? Can you trust your friends more? Can they trust you more? Do they feel safer, more comfortable? Can they sense that when they're with you, that they're not going to be pulled into harm, doing harm, something they'll regret later? And what is the impact as you navigate the wider world? If you're, in a working environment, or, do you have a sense of steadiness when you make choices about, will I lie on that report? Will I fudge those numbers? Will I put in false flattery? Or is there something that's like, no, this isn't aligned, and I will hold this because I won't regret it later. So we do sometimes make hard choices because of this commitment to Sila. And then I was talking here earlier with Alex about the difference between the Sila of non-harming and the Sila of renunciation. And that both are a training. When you break any of it, you just come back to the training. It's like you acknowledge it, and then you continue. You feel the sting, but then you don't take that sting and keep, you slap the mosquito and then you just keep slapping yourself. That is not the healthy response. It's really knowing, oh, I caused harm. It hurts. I'm going to make a commitment to not do that in the future. But I've heard from many, many people that it is not so easy, like in a corporate world. That there are lots of gray spaces about how do I make these decisions, and the social pressures. It's in a way, it's like being back in junior high and everyone's taunting that one kid, and if you don't want to be the next target, you might join in. And then the feeling of the heart after doing that. And we don't want to have that feeling, and so we make a shift. And now, if I'm out and I've seen somebody being verbally attacked, typically, although I did at one point see somebody, aiming to harm another, that the impulse of the heart is to step in. And the impulse of the heart is to say, no, we can do this differently. The impulse of the heart is to show there is an option that is safe. And that's what the Sila really, really provides us, is this safety. So this is the hard edge side of the Dhamma reflection today. How is this landing as far as, what are we navigating? It is a Sila celebration. We're going to get more into the happy side, but it's like, I don't want to leave this part out. We're changing habits in a culture that is in many avenues aimed at deteriorating our habits because it meets the economic ends of their values and goals. How is it that we stand against that? Amy?
I'm just thinking, in the outside worldly, say whatever corporate environment as an example or one aspect of it. I'm thinking through like the 5 precepts and how, it's different for different precepts, right? Like you probably won't have to deal with a mosquito situation at the office, probably.
Right.
And likely, not have to be in a tricky situation with taking the life of anything else. But when it comes to refraining from intoxicants, that's the other end of the spectrum where it's a humongous deal.
Yep.
If you don't want to go to the work social, or you go but you don't have a drink as well, it's almost like people, I don't want to overstate my situation. I think I've seen it. And I guess it evolves once people know that you don't, then maybe it eventually peters out. But there's that reaction of, it's almost an aggression to them. And that one is actually really surprising, but shows you how refraining from doing something is so countercultural.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, there is, it's countercultural, and the intoxicants is a one that we're pushing against people's norms, their habits, their I as a layperson, that was part of the social scene, and we'd go to wine tasting parties after work, we'd go to the bar and with our visiting colleagues from around the world, and or there'd be the office parties or those kind of things. So yes, I've been in that scene, I know it. And then I found Buddhism, and the more that I began meditating, I would meditate, and I'd have just, after a while, it got so refined that I'd have a couple sips of wine, and I didn't, I mean, I could tell it was impacting my capacity. It was changing how, people say, oh, I can have a beer or a glass of wine or whatever, or, one joint or whatever and it's not going to impact me. And that's just a lack of mindfulness. So we do need the mindfulness in there to see what is it really doing. And I was very lucky that, I mean, I had some really wonderful colleagues. Not all environments are going to be as supportive. And so I began to back off of, for a while I just didn't go. But then when I came back, it's like I'd have water or a soda or a juice or something instead. And there was this discomfort. And there was a little bit of a pushback, but then in general, it became like, oh, well, we're going someplace that I hear they have fresh juice, So it's like, then they figure out ways to bring you back into the in crowd. One of the nearby bhikkhus said that as you like get to the outskirts of a group, typically they will either try to kick you out or pull you back in. And that what I would say is you need really good friends who are able to like accept you as you are doing the changing. But it is a time period where a lot of people find themselves either pulled back in or having to move to a different group. And that's hard to do when it's a workplace environment. For myself, at the point at which I let it be known that I was heading for monastic life, it was kind of like a done deal. And when I came back to we used to have these third Monday dinners that we would socially go out and have dinner. Well, I became a monastic and I no longer go to dinner. So I went back to Minnesota to visit, and they said, we would like to do a third Monday lunch so that you can attend, because we want to know what's been happening in your life since you left the corporate research world and went off and shaved your head and all of that weird stuff. And it was at the lunch, it was the lawyer, the patent lawyer was in the group, and they were asking me questions throughout the lunch, and he says, can you please tell me about the precepts so that when I go home to dinner with my children, I can tell them about it? So this is the social shift that can happen. I just felt so much delight at that question about, tell me about Sila so I can share it with my children. So I think it is quite okay to, with a warm heart, step out and say, no, I'm not going to continue those behaviors. But I still care about our relationship, and I'm open for your questions. And that can sometimes be a way to navigate that social shift that inevitably happens and is a rocky thing. It can be really rocky. Amy.
This isn't like one of the 5 precepts, but one that I find really kind of earth-shattering in a positive way is, Dhamma practitioners, I mean, beyond the precepts, we try not, we try to be mindful of when anger and ill will arises and try not to act out of it. And being in some kind of relationship, I don't mean like a long-standing relationship, but interacting with someone slash being, having the relationship being Kelly and Amita, knowing that you both have that aim, it's just incredible that, because things happen, but the trusting in yourself and them, the two people involved in the interaction, even if something awkward happened, to it's going to take the course that it takes, but to trust that you're both going to not, actually, this does relate to the five, to not tell a lie within that friction, and that you just know that you're both going to try to let it go is incredible. Like, talk about safety, trust.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm trying to navigate. So Alex, please feel free to jump in at any time. That, having Kalyanamita, having our companions working with the same kind of aspirations for Sila really, really is a safe thing. And it allows, like I find this in monastic life, it allows for the acknowledgement of the little things, so that we're supposed to be purifying and polishing like a conch shell. So that real smooth, this is not a conch shell, this is a clam shell, but it's smooth, and so all of the conditions, still has some roughness where the ocean hasn't worn it away completely, but there's that's because we're in an environment where we can show where the edges are and the other can work with it. I remember my lay teacher, Mark Nunberg, saying that as he was exploring this, he was talking to another Dhamma teacher, and he said they were conversing, and he realized he had exaggerated the number of people who were coming to the program. And he's like, he didn't even know why he said it. We do this. He's like, it came out of his mouth. He felt the cringe. They ended the conversation, and then he still felt the cringe. And he says, oh, it's going to be more awkward probably to call them and tell them than it is to. And then he thought, no, I have a commitment. This was a little fudging of the facts. So he called them and he said, this might be awkward, but I just need to go back to that conversation we had. And I said this. This actually happened to me with a monastic 4 or 5 years ago, where something came out of my mouth about what I had done in lay life. I'd been a dancer, and I'd said that I had danced a particular piece, and I hadn't. It had been something else. And I'm like, why did I say this? And I remembered what Mark had said. I thought, I'm just going to go back and tell her, I didn't actually do that. And I was embarrassed, and he spoke about his embarrassment, but it helped open that relationship up even more, to the sense of it is safe to correct myself when I have made a mistake. And the mistake in its sense, in that moment, if I had been fast enough, there was an intentionality there. There was an intentionality to deceive. It didn't feel good. And I caught it, I reflected it, I owned it, and then we transformed the relationship a bit more because of the honesty. So that's the breaking it through the discomfort. Okay, so for our time, I'm going to switch gears now, since we're kind of switching from that. So there is you look at it and you go, why have I been habituated not to have good Sila? Making the choice to shift the Sila and have a vision for the future, willing to move through the discomfort. And then getting to the other side, we mentioned it earlier about the impact on our meditation practice. And oh, God, the screen is picking up my, yeah, definitely AI, thumbs up, thumbs up. That when we go to our meditation practice, I have had the experience of sitting down to meditation, and what comes up is that fault, whatever it was, whatever small thing, the whether it was an acknowledged one or unacknowledged, and my habit of like, no, 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 don't, and the sit is very uncomfortable. And so when I sit down and it's been a period of good Sila, pure Sila, bright Sila, then going to the cushion, I don't have to go through the swamp, and acknowledge this and clear that, and like, oh yes, my dear heart, let's try better. The tightness in my body from having committed, whatever it was, a lot of it is our thoughts. In the Clear Mountain, I'm sitting in for the bhikkhus tonight because they're teaching a retreat, so it's wonderful. And the sutta tonight is actually, it's on Sila. Amy's nodding, so I think Amy knows about it too. And in that sutta, it includes the corruptions of thought, the unwholesome patterns of thought. And those are the ones that show up the most for me on the cushion. Is like, oh, yeah, I was thinking about it. My thoughts are a lot softer than they were, but there are periods of time in my life that it's, sit down on the cushion, it's like, oh, why did I think that I was going to say that? Or even, all of the rehearsing, or, oh, I can't believe they did that to me, and my response to it. How am I going to fix that? A lot of that falls away when we're living out of a purity of our values and our virtues. And then sitting down on the cushion, it's like the relaxation's already there. I don't have to open up the creaky places and look in and go, ooh, let's clean the closet out before we do this sit. So the Sila supports the letting go. I did bring the teddy bear, it's like teddy bear Sila is pretty easy. It's relaxed. Teddy bears are just relaxed. And when we go to the meditation, what we really want is to relax and enjoy. So if you don't feel it within yourself, you can take this image right here, put that down around your heart. So the Sila of a teddy bear, it's soft, it's relaxed. And when my Sila is bright and pure, it's not tight. Sila is not tight. Sila's bright. And when I go to the present moment, I've heard it from Ajahn Brahmali, but I suspect it probably came from Ajahn Brahm, that the present moment can be the pleasant moment. Okay, yeah. So to have the pleasant moments, I notice that out in the world also, that as I'm interacting, that if something comes up that I may have been reactive to by habit in the past, because I've got a sense of steadiness and purity, the brightness, the openness, the warmth, it just doesn't land the way that it used to. And so I can just kind of receive it like a teddy bear, and it can still be pleasant. So if I had that experience again of someone verbally hurling insults or whatnot, it lands differently. It lands very differently. And when I go to the cushion, I'm not hurling insults at myself anymore. I'm resting in the good aspects of my Sila. And then what that allows me to do is to relax much more quickly because I don't have as many of those constricted parts of the history. We talk about the body holding the tensions of the past. I have less of that constriction, so relaxation is easier. And then the enjoyment. So turning to the meditation, I'm using relax and enjoy. And the Sila is the support for me to easily move into relax and enjoy. That the present moment is the pleasant moment. I don't think this is just my own experience. Okay. You want to say anything about it, Amy or Alex? Go ahead.
I wanted to pick up on something that you said in passing, the self-criticism.
Mhm.
Yeah. Lately I've been coming to terms with like, oh wow, yeah, that's a pretty negative voice that's going on. Oh wow, it's around a lot. And I just think it's really bad for Sila
Mhm.
because it's so tense. Then you're doing Sila in this tense way through your own kind of self,
Yeah.
whatever, call it whatever. Um, and I mean, I've heard people talk about doing this and I've never done it, but I tried now to start getting into the habit at night when you're going to bed to review, like, hey, actually, my Sila is pretty good today. To like it, it worked. Like it does do something. I've heard people talk about that, but it's like ingraining your good behavior almost helps you to continue it and have that trust in yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're giving safety to ourselves as well. And depending on the conditions you were raised in, Sila can be this judgmental, tight, hard thing. Whether it's, I don't know the codes across where I came from, it would be the 10 Commandments, but there are similar types of codes across many, many systems. And kind of this punitive, finger pointing of it. And that you keep quiet about the good side, but you feel puffed up about it, and that you want to inflict it on others to behave the way. And wearing, holding a protest sign that someone else's Sila is not aligned with yours is not a soft and generous and open and beautiful. And I don't imagine that the person holding that sign then goes home and sits down into meditation and feels peaceful. I don't, I've never been in that particular situation, but that the internal judgmental of my Sila is good, but theirs is not. And it's easier for us to notice it when we see someone else doing it, or even when we've done it to someone else. But we're doing it to ourselves all the time. That's why I bring it up that way. We're holding protest signs against ourselves all the time. And because we're feeling both sides of that tightness, both the condemned and the condemner, the sensation in the body, in the mind, I then have the impact of being the one who condemns myself, as well as the one who's condemned. And that is not going to make your meditation bright and light and beautiful. I'm trying to pull up a situation. I can't at the moment, but I've noticed that when I make a mistake, it's like, oh, sweetheart, You did that out of your conditioning. Let's change your conditioning. And that doesn't land on me on the cushion with, yeah, oh, sweetheart. And if I can't do it for myself, I can get the teddy bear to do it for me. I was just listening to an Ajahn Brahmali talk this morning, so I'm on the teddy bear kick right now. So yeah, how we talk to ourselves will support our Sila. Any additional thoughts on this? Yeah, please. We're such a small group today. It's please.
Alex doesn't want to say anything. I just feel like I've said a lot. Okay. Now I forget. Oh yeah, I've been working on dialing up sense restraint. And it's really interesting how Sila, like how we think of Sila as one thing and sense restraint as another, but they're not.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to say more about how, and I mean, it doesn't have to be a personal example, it's just how that sense restraint stirs at the Sila, or how the Sila protects the sense restraint?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the sense restraint, like say, not eating junk food, snacks, desserts, whatever, not watching whatever. Yeah, it's so interesting how it's like, well, you could do those things. It doesn't break any precepts. But it isn't a separate thing at all. It's just, it helps you realize that Sila, the basic precepts are all sense restraint. And it's good to be mindful of that fact as you're keeping Sila.
Mm-hmm.
That is actually what you're doing. You're not just being a good rule follower. It's all
Right.
the same thing.
Oh, and definitely, I mean, a crude example would be um, watching violent television or films, yet keeping the rule against harming or killing. It's like you're still inflicting that tone in the mind. And so restraint, refraining from that sense object of a violent film, is a subtler refinement on the not harming living beings. And if you look into like what you consume by your eyes or mouth or nose or ears or touch, or what you're consuming by reading in the mind, yeah, it's impacting this being, and so as I choose restraint, I'm actually really putting some good Sila practice into how I not harm this being. And there are times like, I've visited family or whatnot, and I'm not interested in watching something, but the family is there and it's on, and I'll be in the room without kind of really watching it, but I'm still getting some of the impact of it. And I can try to just kind of pull away from the engagement of it and focus on the being in relation with the people around me. Can be in a noisy environment or a whatever environment, and focus on the heart energy as opposed to the wild dance moves going on, or I don't encounter that a whole lot, but it's possible that others might. And it's not an unwholesome thing that's going on around me necessarily. It's just a choice. And sometimes you can choose to, like we've been talking about, when you have to go on here, we talked about when you do go to an office party or something, maybe you do engage, maybe you dance, maybe you go to karaoke or whatever, whatever it is. But you have the line that you don't cross in terms of your 5 precepts. And yet you choose to not practice full sense restraint in that regard. Look at the impact when you go back to your home or your hotel room, and also engage in it with the pure intention of relating wisely and skillfully and happily with the people around you. So that's not picking up a protest sign and saying, ban dancing, ban karaoke, ban, beach parties or whatever. Because that is actually pulling up an unwholesome thing. So there are ways to navigate this. Yeah, and it's subtle. So, all right. Well, we've I think had an interesting and nice look at the different sides of Sila and getting through. Because when we named it Sila Celebration, I also want to acknowledge that doesn't mean it's easy. And it doesn't mean that it's not nuanced, and it doesn't, so the part of the celebration is, hey, it's tough, and we're still, committing to, it's a training to be observed. So celebrating this together, and anyone who sees this later, may you also rejoice in the opportunity to go through the tough patches and reap the benefits and share the benefits and the safety that we create for ourselves and each other. And if you need, remember Teddy Bear Sila. That's my pitch for the day. All right, if you wish, you can join in the closing homage. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Slakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami. Supatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. All right. Thank you. Ayya Suvijana will be back next week, and not next, 2 weeks from now. Oh, and a pre-heads up, we're switching the weeks in July because Ayya Suvijana and I are taking a class with Sila Catherine that we want to make sure that it's in the opposite weeks. So it's not going to continue as the 2nd and 4th. It'll so the next one will be in June, will be the 4th Sunday. But when we get to July, because there are 5 weeks in June, 5 Sundays in June, it'll end up being the 1st and 3rd Sunday of July and August, I think. All right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, make sure that's on here. All right, now